I'm Jenny Ortiz Bolivar here at AIBC Asia, and with me is Amor Maclang, who is the founder of Digital Pilipinas. Amor, thank you so much for being here.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
had to slide that in. Thank you very much. I'm always very happy to have a rare, intelligent conversation
I'm excited.
on
I'm
these
excited.
topics,
Yes.
right? On bordering on controversial topics, but are needed.
Yes, and I'm very excited about, for this chat. So, Amor, before anything else, can you tell us more about Digital Pilipinas?
Yes. So to all of our friends in South America, in Africa, in Europe, in the Middle East, and Manila, of course, which comprise the entire Sigma verse. We'd like to welcome you to the Philippines for the second Sigma IABC conference. Digital Pilipinas is the largest private sector-led movement for working on the digitalization of various industries in the country by ecosystem building. And although we've touched and have successful case studies in the fields of payment, banking, insurance, health, prop tech, we feel like a very unaddressed element of the digital economy is actually this robust gaming, esports, and iPlay space.
Right, right. And you know what? I've covered Digital Pilipinas,
Thank
for
you.
years, and I've seen what you guys are doing.
We're
It's
both
really
basketball
a movement.
girls originally. Let me leave it at that.
All right. So this Digital Pilipinas, Amor, I want to ask you about the current state of AI blockchain adoption in the Philippines. What can you say about that?
So, when it comes to frontier technology, so here in Sigma, you probably noticed that there seems to be two separate stages. One is on the Sigma, and another is on the AIBC side. But if there's one thing that we need to understand is the importance of actually these two pillars coming together, and why one almost cannot exist without the other. So when you talk about all the growth that's going into the iGaming space or the gambling space, all of these fears, I'm not saying they are unwarranted, can actually be managed and addressed with the use of nascent technologies. For example, if you talk about, say, random generated games, come on, I love playing those, right? How do you know that you can trust the results? Only if it's on chain, right?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that the monies that go into this space actually come from legitimate or go to valid purposes? You can only do that through eKYC. So it's but logical for us who've been historically working in the fintech, payment, and digital economy space to find a way to plant a flag in this particular industry, because not recognizing formally this sector is a big disservice to the global digital economy, Jen.
Yes, and Amor, you have an upcoming key panel, very interesting panel about gamers and gigsters. Can you tell me more about that, and why are you very excited for that one?
Yes. So it will be one of the closing panels for IABC, and we call it 3G. So gamers, gigsters, and gamblers. There, I said it out loud. And a couple of things. When you talk about the gigster or the freelance or the creative digital economies, the independent workers, I'm very proud to have heard directly from the father of the creative digital economy in the Philippines. He's too young to be a father, but he truly is. Congressman Toff de Venecia, who was with us yesterday. Thank you, Congressman. And this is important because, according to him in our last chat, close to 7 million registered gigsters are Pinoys. And the International Digital Economies Association, which I co-founded with 7 other major digital economy leaders globally, we've just welcomed Pakistan. and the Freelancers Association of Pakistan. So when we talk about freelancers, we're not just talking about people who create content. We're also talking about, for example, doctors who want to go in telemedicine and don't want to be affiliated with a hospital, for example. So we have 7 million of that in the Philippines. If you are not formally employed, how do you get the recognition, for example, of banks, financial institutions, insurance companies, or even healthcare, right? So that actually makes them underserved. Since 2018, we have really noticed the growth in the iGaming sector, and you
Yes.
were at the forefront. You've even seen how, for example, Isabong has grown, right? And just because you don't want to talk about it, it doesn't mean that it's not thriving. And the more we enable, so when I talk about enablement, it has to be both enabling plus regulation. So we cannot just curtail and regulate an industry without at the same time enabling it. Look at, for example, the United States, where you see investments coming from major gaming, gambling companies.
Yeah.
And because they're properly regulated and enabled, they actually contribute positively to the economy. And that's what we want. That's what we want in the Philippines.
Right, and there's so much more to tap actually in the industry, right? And how do you see, since of course you are, of course, pushing for digitalization as well, how do you see these two industry, how can it, help each other? The iGaming and then the blockchain AI industries. How do you see them, helping each other and thriving at the same time?
Actually, I don't believe regulated gambling can exist without frontier technologies. For one thing, many of the safeguards and the rails that are associated with the growth of this industry rely heavily on nascent tech. So whether it's reg tech, whether it's blockchain technology, whether it's digital identity, something so important for us. The very same things that we yearn for globally, in the global majority, like digital identity. We use it for banking and financial inclusion. It's the same technology that can be used to enable and create economic growth in this space. So let's use the J word, not just sabong. Let's talk about weteng. We've all known weteng for so long. It's a game of chance. What if we can find a way to make it as prevalent as Gcash? But we can now, because it's mainstream, it can then actually include things like responsible gaming, right? The use of technology, the use of eKYC, all intended to protect the consumer from abuse, whether externally or even from their own person.
And you know what, Amor, I want to just emphasize what you just said. It's for Sigma or AIBC, we're after really regulated gaming, and you've mentioned it yourself, responsible gaming. Those two are very important in the industry, and I guess not just for iGaming but also in AI and blockchain. And we know that. Tell us more. Do you know any regulatory development in the Philippines that you think will benefit the industry that we're in?
So maybe not so much regulatory developments, but overall developments. Like I think Chairman Altenco of PAGCOR talked about that in 2025, 2026. They're looking at selling the Casino Filipino assets.
Yes.
And that's something that's very exciting to me because especially, hopefully, Jen, with the loosening up of FDI restrictions, we can find a way to get this global regulated gaming space to put in more resources in the Philippines. Even with the most marginal enablement and regulation, we still see the Philippines as a nexus, not just for innovation, not just for fintech, not just for blockchain, NFT, Web3, but even for iGaming. And properly enabled and regulated, it can only redound to the people on the ground,
Yeah.
right?
You know what, Amor? I always love picking your brain. You have so much to share, and I've always learned a lot from you in terms of the industries that we're in.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, tell us more about the projects of Digital Pilipinas.
So once again, we'll be back this year, but this time around, we're going to start with a regional and local roadshow. Jen, if there's one thing we learned from last year is that all of the incredible learnings. Last year we had 247 speakers. One-fourth of them were foreign, and they flew in on their own because they know the potential of this region, specifically ASEAN. But what I realized is if we're going to support the programs of the government under PBBM, under President Marcos, we need to bring the fight to the provinces in the region. And watch this space. I assure you it's going to break first with Jen. We'll talk about our roadshow starting in August and then culminating in November, where once again we tackle an even bigger issue, which is not just about fintech or blockchain, but rather the overall digital economy, not just of the Philippines, but of what we term as the global digital majority. So the global digital majority comprises 82% of the world's population. And who serves in our board are digital economy leaders from Germany, from Luxembourg, and of course, the historical leaders of the global south, which is Africa, and also India, China, Hong Kong, and the ASEAN region. And I think it's about time. If there's one thing that really brings us all together, is wanting to put the Philippines in the global map, right? We are no longer just consumers of technologies, but rather we're positive contributors on how this global digital economy can be shaped. So we're very grateful to our 40 plus one membership, 40 countries, plus the African subcontinent. As a matter of fact, this week, we will be in Kenya, Nairobi, which many say is a Silicon Valley of Africa. I always poo-poo that. I say, you don't have to be the Silicon Valley of Africa. You can be your own Nairobi of the world, right? We're very excited because the same demographics in ASEAN are the same in Africa, except they're younger and they're even more mobile.
All right, Amor Maclang, Digital Pilipinas, thank you so much.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you all in Sigma 2025 in Manila.